Welcome back to the kitchen, guys and girls. This is your boy, the Mad Chef. Pack your bags, everybody, because I'm taking you to pizza school, and I'm your professor. Tonight, we are on the quest still to make the ultimate New York slice of pizza, but we're breaking all the rules. We're making a traditional crust using two different types of flours. We're going to be testing out two different pizza sauces. Two pizzas will be made to determine what is the best slice. And guys, I can tell you now, after extensive research, I think I've cracked the code on New York pizza making. So let's get started. So first things first, I don't know if you guys have watched my video that I released a couple weeks ago on a weeknight pizza where I used all-purpose flour, some extra yeast, and it had some time in a heated oven to do some speed fermentation. That turned out great, but tonight we're going to be using a real dough, a real crust method that's going to take cold fermentation about 24 hours to get right. So from my research here recently, I spent like the past two and a half days researching, like hard researching New York pizzas, and it seems like the pizza places that are most popular and have, quote, the best pizzas use a blend of two different flours. Of course, there is the traditional all-purpose flour. And then this, is the Tipo 00 pizza flour that I mentioned in my last video. This is the traditional Neapolitan style pizza flour that's used to make margarita pizzas. It's the be-all, end-all of pizza making. So what we have here is 153 grams, or 1 cup, 1 tablespoon, and 2 teaspoons. I have all the measurements down below, of all-purpose flour. Now, because 00 flour is a really fine-grained flour, you don't need to use as much to get the same amount. This is also 153 grams of Tipo 00, and that is just a cup and a tablespoon because it's so fine. All right, we're going to add that in and start mixing it together. You just want to combine the two flours. And supposedly, from what I've seen, is the combination of the regular all-purpose flour with the zero Tipo gives it the crunch and the chew and the tenderness, and also the flexibility that it needs to make a proper pizza. A lot of people swear by bread dough, and I've seen it used, bread flour, and I've seen it used a lot, but I just cannot get it to be flexible enough. I may not be using the right hydration method. And speaking of which, hydration is extremely important to pizza making. I don't have all the hard numbers because I'm really not a math guy, but this is probably going to be about a 57% hydration. So I've got 200 grams of lukewarm water that just temped at 110 degrees, okay? If you don't know what 200 grams is, get yourself a cup like this and fill it to the 200 milliliter line. 200 milliliters is 200 grams. I'm trying to cut out some of the hard math for you guys, because I don't like math either. And then we're going to add one of these instant yeast packets. We're going to stir it up and let it get frothy. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it now, no sugar in this dough. I know it seems weird, but cold fermentation is how this dough is going to expand and do what it needs to do. And if we add sugar to this yeast right now, we are going to go ahead and start the fermentation, and it's going to rapidly rise, and we don't want that. This is going to be in the fridge for a bare minimum of 24 hours, and if we use sugar to feed our yeast, then putting it in the fridge is going to kill its texture. It's going to kill how it grows and how it's going to be, and how you're going to be able to use it in the end. So we're going to let that yeast do its thing and feed up until it's foamy. And while it's doing that, we're just going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of fine sea salt or table salt. Whatever you have on hand is fine. 1 teaspoon is all you need. And we're just going to fold this in. Now, guys, don't be alarmed about the fancy 00 flour. I did not go to any specialty shop to get this. This is the King Arthur brand of 00 pizza flour, and I found it at Walmart. So, guys, in the regular baking aisle of your local Walmart, you can find King Arthur 00 Tipo pizza flour. I suggest very strongly that you use this. This is a game changer for your pizza making. I want to say it ran me like about $5. Our yeasty boys are now properly foamed up. So I want to give you guys some great overhead action on how to make this dough. We're going to slowly add in our yeast water. Okay. We're going to use one hand to mix it all. And then to it, we're going to also add 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. And we're just going to mix this sucker with our hand until everything just starts to come together. Don't need to do a whole lot here. Alright. See that? That's about all you need to do. This is optional, but I'm going to add just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil just to keep the dough moist. I want to throw a damp towel over this, and then I'm going to let it proof for about 15 minutes. All right, then 15 minutes, and it's time to roll our dough out. This is the first need. This is super important. What you're going to be doing now is developing the gluten in the dough. This should approximately take 3 minutes. You're just trying to get the dough to become smooth. Alright? Now we got ourselves a nice tight dough ball. What we're going to do now is we're going to put some extra virgin olive oil in this bowl here. Set our dough ball down in it. Put a little on top like I did last time just to make sure it has plenty of moisture in it. So we're going to put some plastic wrap over the top of this sucker, and then it's going to be proofing at room temperature for the next 3 hours. Now it's time to talk sauce. The first sauce is going to be the same recipe, well, just about the same recipe we used in the weeknight pizza video. Again, if you haven't seen that, check it out. I've got a link in the description and a card floating somewhere at the beginning of the video. So what I've got in the bottom of this bowl is 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. This is 1 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Really, brand doesn't make too big of a difference. If you have San Marzano, great. If you don't, this works just fine. Now it's time to season her up. We've got a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of onion powder, and a teaspoon of oregano, and a half a teaspoon of sugar because we determined from last time it needed a little sweetness. Again, pizza sauce is supposed to be a little sweet. And then the big difference is, unlike last time, I have fresh basil. Now, I did chop up this basil into little ribbons. Normally, you would just tear it apart and unlock the flavor that way while it's simmering in your sauce. But this is the final product. This is its final form. There's not going to be any cooking involved. So I felt like in order to have the even dispersal of the flavor of the basil, we need to have it fresh. I don't know if you guys have encountered this problem, but the reason I didn't have fresh basil for my last recipe is because Walmart didn't have any basil. Walmart's had a lot of issues with fresh basil. I don't know if you guys even buy fresh basil. Sometimes they'll be out for days to a week at a time, and then sometimes they'll get it in, but it all looks like they're decaying and wilting away and turning color. That's what happened to the last one that I had that I ended up throwing away. I bought these today, and they looked great, but I still had to dig through like 3 or 4 packs of ones that looked like they were just more or less dead in the package. And voila, we already know this is good. That is your raw sauce. This is for all you raw sauce guys. Boom. The next one's probably going to piss a lot of people off because, like I mentioned in the last video, a lot of pizza aficionados, a lot of pizza guys swear that pizza sauce is supposed to be raw. You don't cook your sauce. Well, I'm going to show you that's wrong. All right, what I have here is 1 28-ounce can of peeled whole San Marzano tomatoes, and I want to show you why whole. I'm gonna pour these suckers out. Pomodoro, as they say in Italy. So I'm about to make someone's Nona really, really proud. At least I think so. We're going to take our hands like they do in now keep in mind my hands are completely clean. And we want to go ahead and start crushing these. Oh my god, these suckers are juicy. We're going to start breaking these up with our hands. This is literally how they do it in Italy. Just going to crush it up. Now you can always crush less, you know, if you want like a chunkier tomato sauce. I like mine to be, you know, I'm not going to be opposed to a little dash of tomato, but I want to try to keep this conventionally as smooth as possible. So I'm just going to try to squeeze all that pulp out of these tomatoes. Ugh, and get sprayed in the process. Alright. Now we've got San Marzano tomato puree by hand. I'm going to wash up, and we're going to take this sucker to the stove. Alright, so this is going to be really, really different. This is the polar opposite of what we were doing a minute ago, where the sauce was completely raw and only took a few minutes to assemble. This sauce is going to simmer for a total of 2 hours. That's right. The goal is we're not going to put any sugar in this sauce, because once we simmer the sauce down low and slow, the natural sugars start to come out of those tomatoes. They break down. They become beautiful. So the first thing we're going to do here is get started with our aromatics. We're going to put a nice amount of extra virgin olive oil in the pot here. We want to get it all nice and hot. And now that my oil is ready, we're going to be adding in about 2 tablespoons minced garlic. I'm going to go ahead and get that started to fry off a little bit. Once you start to smell the garlic, we're going to be adding in our onion. Keep in mind I've got my range at about a medium-ish heat here. Alright, starting to smell the garlic a little bit. I'm going to add in about 1/4 of a large yellow onion. So 1/4 of an onion, diced. I'm going to go ahead and start frying the sucker off. Might need a little more olive oil. Now these onions are starting to get warm. They're starting to smell a little bit. Now's the time to season. Got a little bit of this kosher salt here. We're doing everything to taste. Why we're putting so much, salt in here is because we want to go ahead and start drawing out some of that moisture. Make it golden. Alright? There's a little bit of black pepper for you. All this to taste. And we're going to go and cook these until they're completely translucent. Alright. Now these onions and this garlic are ready. Now we're going to add all of our beautiful San Marzano tomatoes. Every last bit of that goodness right there. And this is kind of thick. So, we want to add in a cup of water. Just to thin this out. Give it a good mix. Because what's going to happen is it's going to reduce down a lot. Especially whenever, we can start to simmer. So now what I'm going to do is bring this heat up to about a high heat. And then unlike my regular pan marinara, we're going to bring this stuff up to a boil. All right, now that we got a nice rolling boil here, we're going to turn this heat down to a low setting. All right, very low. And give this sucker a stir. And now we're going to add in some fresh basil leaves. Just rip them up. And this is going to be about 4 very nice basil leaves. We're going to let that basil cook down and penetrate the flavors of this pizza sauce. And we're going to keep it covered. We're just going to keep a little bit off to the side. Make sure we stir occasionally. And in 2 hours, we're going to check this sucker and see if it's done. And adjust salt levels if needed. So it's been 2 hours of simmering our sauce, and we're going to take a taste and see what it's like. That is surprisingly good. So we got 20 more minutes until the dough is ready. So we're going to clean this up and get to moving on. Okay, so it's been 3 hours since we had our pizza dough proofing. We want to go ahead and take it out. And now we're going to give it its final knead. We got one cohesive ball of dough here. I'm just going to make sure we crimp the end. This is actually getting a lot easier to work with than it was. All right, roll it. And all we're going to do now, after we seal it up, pull it against itself, is going to cut this into 2 pieces. 2 pieces, one for each pizza. Not quite exactly even here. We're going to do the same thing. Roll it. All right. I hit these bad boys up with just a last little bit of extra virgin olive oil. All right. We're going to put these in the fridge, pull them out tomorrow night, and we're going to be making pizza. All right, guys, it's the very next day, and we're about to make some pizzas. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to the highest setting it will go. My oven is set to 500, and you're going to want to put your pizza stone or your cast iron pizza pan or whatever you want to in there for an hour to make sure it gets plenty hot. Remember, we're cooking this pizza at home, so our ovens burn at a lower temperature than it would if you were using a brick oven or a pizza oven. Those get to about 600 to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's why we have our pizza pan chilling in there, actually burning up in there, at 500 degrees. So you also want to give your dough enough time to get to room temperature. So what I did was the moment that I started preheating this oven to 500 degrees, I just put the bags of pizza dough on top. And they're at pretty much room temperature right now. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. And this has actually turned out to be a really nice, easy looking dough. We're just going to put some flour at the top. And of course, we're going to get a little extra flour at the bottom because this is what's going to be on your pizza pan. And this is going to help it to keep from sticking. And what we're going to do now is we're going to just try to work a pizza crust shape out of it with our hands. So we're definitely going to give our other pizza a little more time to thaw out, keep it on top of the stove a little bit longer. So if you guys' fridges work really well like mine, an hour may not be enough time to fully warm your dough up. Because working with a cold dough like this is super hard to do. Which is why no one really recommends it. But we're already here. I wasn't aware to begin with just how cool it was going to be in the center. But it is starting to give a little more. We're just going to keep playing with it. Pizza number 1 is going to feature the Old Faithful right here. That's our cold sauce. Well, we both mean that's our raw sauce. Technically, both of these are cold. Gonna very smoothly even that out. Alright, I'm going to do something a little different. No 3 cheese blends. We know that don't work. We're going to cover the bottom with a little bit of this 4C shredded Parmesan Romano cheese down at the bottom. Gotta love that Parmesan Romano. And then I'm going to take some mozzarella cheese, some shredded mozzarella cheese. You're going to want to go with a drier mozz, not a full-fat mozz, because full-fat mozz will not break down, and it might actually create excess moisture in your pizza, making it, more likely to collapse. And let's face it, nobody wants that. All right. Going to hit it up with a little bit of these margarita-style pepperonis. That's just a big one. Some uneven cuts here. But that's alright, as long as they're good. Don't be cheap with the pepperoni. Alright, so lots of pepperoni. We're going to hit it one more time with a grated Parmesan Romano cheese. Gotta have cheese. And then we're going to put on a little Italian happiness, otherwise known as extra virgin olive oil. Alright, not too much. Alright, and so now the big question, how are we getting this sucker in the oven? Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our pizza pan directly out of the oven, alright? We're going to hit it with just a little bit of flour. This is going to keep it from sticking. And I'm going to take this off and slide it directly from this cutting board to this pizza pan. Perfect. Alright. Now we're going to slide this into the oven. I'm going to cook it for about 5 to 7 minutes. I'm going to check at the 5-minute mark. As soon as your crust is bubbly and golden and all your cheese is thoroughly melted, we can take this thing out. Meanwhile, we're going to start working on pizza number 2. All right, so the only difference here between pizza 1 and pizza 2 is the second pizza is going to be using that cooked sauce that simmered for 2 hours. So we're going to construct the pizza and roll it out the same way. All right, and so pizza dough number 2 has had more time to warm up, and I didn't have nearly half the problems that I had as I did with pizza dough number 1. So I think the majority of my issues there were based out of the fact that the dough is not warm enough. Because as you can see, this is definitely a much better looking pie base. However, this is about as far as I can stretch this one without ripping it and tearing it to shreds. So I'm not really sure what I did wrong with this recipe. Because normally I've seen folks use this pretty much exact same method and get a much better, much bigger looking pie than this. So, guys, if you know at all what I'm doing wrong, I'm not objecting for you guys to say something in the comments because I would like to know how to make my pizza craft better. All right, so now it's time to start assembling stuff. 7 minutes wasn't quite enough to get this pizza completely done, so I put it on for another 3. All right, so now we're going to use our cooked sauce that simmered for 2 hours. What's going to go? It's definitely a lot thicker. I'm going to go ahead and spread this all around. Beautiful pizza sauce. Now, if it's the one criticism that I think I could give this sauce is the only thing I felt it was missing was some oregano. I ran out of oregano. Now, I feel like you don't get as much authentic Italian flavor with that. Was it actually the original recipe for this? No. But the good thing is we can always add oregano back later. So, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add a nice pinch of oregano to add some of that classic flavor profile back to it. Not a whole lot. You don't want to kill folks with it. Going to go ahead and hit it up with some of that grated Parmesan Romano cheese. Oh, that's the first pizza. Oh, baby. Yeah, that crust is done. Once we're done assembling this pizza, I'm going to show you what that first one looks like. And same again. Some nice low moisture mozz. Get that on the bottom. And lots of pepperoni. And just like last time, give it a little shot of Italian happiness. Now I'm going to switch this out with a cooked pizza so I can show you guys what that looks like. Oh, and I almost forgot. A little more Parmesan Romano cheese. Because you can't ever have enough of that. Would you look at that, guys and girls? A lot better than I originally thought. So 10 minutes on 500 gets you this right here. It looks amazing. Smells good. All right, let's slice into this bad boy. I'm not going to eat it right away because I want to make sure both pizzas are cooked first. Got some crunch going on the sides here. Very nice. All right. We're going to get this one cleaned off, put it on a plate, and then we're going to cook our second one. Again, 10 minutes on 500 is what works for me. All right, guys and girls, this is number 2. Not bad, not bad. Let's slice this bad boy up. Still got some crunch going on the edges. All right, and while this cools, we're going to go ahead and try pizza number 1. So this is pizza number 1 with the raw sauce. Nice undercarriage. Got a little bit of a decent texture to it. Let's give it a shot. Definitely not a New York pizza, but it's a good pizza. The sauce is good. What I really like is at the top of the crust, with the olive oil and the grease and the pepperonis coming. There's that crispy crunch. Really good stuff. right? And this is our second pizza with our 2-hour marinara. I'm particularly excited to try this one because I've never done a 2-hour marinara. Crust came out perfectly consistent on this one. Super hot. I'm not gonna lie. I think I prefer the 2-hour marinara. Those San Marzano tomatoes are naturally sweet. Getting some of the oregano in there, combining with the cheese, it's actually a really flavorful bite. Not saying that the cold sauce is bad, because it's good. There's just like 10 times more flavor in this sauce. Now, are either of these true New York pizzas? No, because I still haven't perfected the crust. We're going to continue going to school on this, but this is still next level for home-baked pizza. Any comments, suggestions, or requests below, please feel free to comment. Until next time, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.